So you're telling this committee that the Biden administration, while they were letting all of these unaccompanied minors into the country, and as we've talked about today, they weren't keeping track of them, they issued these kids a hotline that they could call if they had trouble with the sponsor family that they were put with. And you're saying that 65,000 calls to this hotline designated to protect these kids went unanswered? Is that what you're telling this committee?
Yes, sir.
The DHS finding more than 13,000 unaccompanied migrant children that were placed with unvetted sponsors throughout the U.S. This comes 1 week after a witness in a House Homeland Security hearing described just how little help those children received under Joe Biden. I wasn't surprised, but I was enraged, Allie. How could they not answer calls from children they gave the number to in case you're exploited? And they called and said, I'm being sexually exploited, and no one answered their messages.
Rachel, you're exactly correct. This hotline was set up as one of the many safeguards that were put in place. And unfortunately, when the policy on paper, when these safeguards are put in place on paper only, but they're not intended to be followed up on or function properly, this is what happens. And what's more horrifying is that these calls wouldn't have been even responded to. Like the call that I mentioned in my testimony, where a child called saying that grown men were coming into his room at night and they were touching him. This administration went through every single one of those calls, and that child was rescued and that sponsor was arrested.
Well, God bless everyone who's going through that list of calls, those unanswered calls, and trying to do something about it.
How can the politics of kindness be so cavalier about whether government efforts to alleviate suffering succeed? The problem is not a deficiency of compassion, but the defective moral logic of compassion itself. The word compassion means, literally, suffering together with another. And there's the problem. The whole point of compassion is for empathizers to feel better when the awareness of another's suffering distresses the observer. But this ultimate purpose does not guarantee that those who are the object of empathy will fare better. So, on top of all of its other problems, our $3 trillion welfare state doesn't work because its liberal architects and defenders don't really care whether it works. The liberal asks, does it feel good? The conservative asks, does it do good? If you really want to help people, it should be pretty obvious which is the more important question. I'm Bill Voegeli of the Claremont Institute for Prager University.